Hi, Melinda. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Great,
And we have four even in the room, so we're good.
great.
So if you don't, Melinda is our interim town attorney. So
Oh, hi.
still with Kelly PC.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Josh, there's a couple of things they have to happen first. They've got to elect new officers and then we'll go into a public hearing.
Script for new officers.
Oh,
Well, that's because I didn't do a script for new officers.
Okay.
It's not, and it doesn't have to be nearly as hardcore as a public hearing. You guys can just nominate amongst yourselves and vote on it, just set your officers.
what are the positions? Is it chair and vice chair?
Well, so Suzanne was chair, Steve was vice chair, and I believe, Gia, were you secretary?
I think so,
Yeah, so,
yeah. It was just so long ago.
yeah, I believe you,
I
yeah.
think so though. Because I remember Steve, we voted him after her, and then I said, I'll just take that.
Yeah. So,
I'm just following the plot. Just so you know.
Okay, no,
we're
that's
done,
good.
let's go home.
I've changed it. I've changed it twice. Ruben's changed it. It keeps going
It
back
keeps
to
going back to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
2
we can-
hours.
Eastern time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Batteries.
Okay. As the acting chair, I'll call this meeting to order. I believe we're in the process first and foremost to nominate and elect chair,
Vice chair.
vice chair, secretary.
I'll still be secretary if you want.
Okay.
So by Robert's rules, it start with our highest position, so
Yeah.
chair.
So anybody want to nominate anybody or for chair? I have to turn that down. And there's a real specific reason for it, but
Okay.
I'm not going to explain it right now.
Okay. Susanna, I vote for you.
It's not a good idea because I don't really understand all those words, like,
Okay,
all the procedural thing, I would mush it up.
okay.
So to alleviate any fear, that's why I'm here to help. That's why Melinda's here, is to help guide that. But if there are any nominations, I know it might be Dale's first meeting, but
I think you are nominated.
I don't nominate, so I'm just, but we are, the chair position has to be filled. And if it's something that can't fill a full term, that could be okay as well. But we just have to revisit that if somebody were to resign. So. throw that out there.
Okay, I second that. Dale? You want it?
Because I'm good, but I think I'm up in August, right? So as long as we continue that,
Yeah,
I'm going.
okay.
Just gotta be patient because brand new to me, so
Yeah.
I understand.
He's got a whole script, have him give it to you.
I'll give it to you. As soon as you get elected,
So there's
I'll hand it
a
to you.
motion. And I'm sorry, and then who seconded? Gia?
I second.
Okay. Mr. Chair,
Okay.
it's up for vote.
so it's up for a vote. Dale as for chairman of the board of appeals. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll hand that to you.
So the second position now,
Yes.
accepting nominations would be vice chair.
Vice chair.
Susanna, I think you can handle vice chair.
Yes,
Yes. Second that. Steve?
I second it.
Okay.
Now, we need to vote.
Can we vote for vice chair?
Yes. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
None.
The final position is secretary.
I nominate Gia.
Gia.
So there's a motion, second,
Aye.
and voting, so,
Secretary?
Yes.
For Gia.
Yeah.
Aye. Any opposed?
okay. Now the script. So for the public hearing.
Okay.
I will now open the public record on the application submitted by the Paonia Christian Fellowship Church for a variance for an encroachment into the setback and right of way of the property located on 230 and 231 Box Elder Avenue, Paonia, Colorado, by Josh McIntyre. Purpose of this hearing is to provide a public forum for all interested parties who wish to comment on this application before the zoning board of adjustments. This procedure for public hearing will be as follows. First, we will have a presentation by town staff. Next, there'll be a presentation by the applicant. After 2 presentations, we'll allow members of the public to speak up for up to 5 minutes each. All testimony must be presented at the lectern after you give your full name, address, and I'll swear you in. Please do not repeat any points made by others, but it's fine to say if you agree or disagree with a comment previously made. Please direct all your comments to the zoning board of adjustments, not to the town staff or the applicant. After receiving public comments, we will allow the applicant and trustee staff opportunity to respond and answer any questions raised by the public comments. We'll then turn the matter over to the zoning board of adjustments, and the board members may ask questions of anybody who testified. We will not ask questions during this presentation. Finally, I will close the public hearing, and the zoning board of adjustments will discuss the matter and may take some kind of motion or action. Once the public hearing has closed, no further comment from the applicant or the public will be taken. However, the board may ask for advice from the town attorney. Public hearings are recorded for the public record. Do we have proper notification?
Yes, we do.
Do any board members have any disclosures?
So any ex parte communications, any, have you spoken with this applicant previously before this meeting?
No.
Aside from buying pizza or going to church, right?
No.
So,
Staff presentation, would like the town administrator to present the staff presentation?
absolutely. So I completed this, staff report based on the background, some of the pertinent details, and then I also contemplated code. Something you haven't seen in previous meetings that is now a part of this process, are what I call required findings needed to issue a variance or consideration for special review. I go through each point as adopted by our code and answer those questions, so that you have all the information that you need to make a decision. Background, so this is variance 2401, so it's 2024-01. Application for variance is outlined in section 16330 of the town of Paonia's municipal code of ordinances for the Paonia Christian Fellowship Church for the property commonly known as 235 Box Elder Avenue, Paonia, Colorado 81428. The request is to vary from section 16330, our 1 district front yard setback requirement of 20 feet. See attachment A. The applicant seeks a variance request to construct an ADA accessible ramp to the entrance of their building. The applicant demolished and removed the previous ramp that was in the location, but upon investigation by town staff, there was no variance in file for the previous ramp. Town administrator denied reconstruction of the ramp and directed the applicant to file for a variance from the code for setbacks. The applicant has provided drawings and reasonings for the encroachment of setbacks into the lot line. So it was a non-conforming structure. We didn't have any sort of variance to say that, hey, it could encroach. So once it was removed, I denied it, and that's why we're here. I was the bad guy and said, hey, you got to file for a variance. but I'm also going to give a staff recommendation as well. So the applicant would like to provide better access to individuals with disabilities, specifically individuals utilizing a wheelchair, the elderly, persons on crutches, persons that use adaptive mobility devices such as walkers, persons using strollers, and to allow for caskets to egress and ingress during funeral processions. The applicant does not want to change the land boundary, but does want to encroach upon the setback that abuts public rights of way. Proposed ADA accessible ramp is a freestanding structure supported on its own with landings and decks from ground level to the entrance of the church building. There are no anticipated changes to utilities with the construction of the ADA accessible ramp. The property is a church that has existed at the intersection since before the most recent iteration of the zoning and building code was adopted. The zoning for the property is within R1, and a church is an acceptable use in that location by the existing zoning code through a special review. Since the current use and building predates the most recent zoning code, the use is allowed by right until such time that the use is changed to a different conforming use by right, such as a residential. Since the church is typically open to parishioners and the general public as part of its outreach programs, it stands to reason that the applicant would want to make efforts towards compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. The applicant believes that foot traffic through the proposed ADA accessible ramp would be 25 to 40 twice weekly. The applicant requests the variance so that the main entrance to the building will meet ADA compliance. For the plan submitted with the application, there appear to be no environmental impacts such as noise, lighting, glare, and pollutants. The applicant does not show any additional lighting upon the ADA accessible ramp or decking. The town's code contemplates how to measure a front yard setback in section 16.100 definition setbacks are measured from the front yard, side yard, and rear property lines. Front setbacks are being measured from the front edge of any porch or wall of a structure excluding an eave with a maximum of 24-inch projection into the setback area. The applicant is requesting an encroachment into the front yard setback of 20 feet to be along the sidewalk along Box Elder Avenue. The applicant demolished and removed the existing ramp that was determined to be the source of water intrusion that caused damage to the main structure of the property. The proposed construction will not funnel water towards the foundation of the building and will mitigate the previous ramp's encroachment into the setbacks. The Zoning Board of Adjustments and Appeals has jurisdiction over whether or not the encroachment may be heard during a public hearing under section 16.510A. Should the Zoning Board of Adjustment and Appeals wish to grant this request, it would not be the final decision maker for this variance since the abutting and affected property is the public right-of-way. Any consideration of approval by the Zoning Board of Adjustments and Appeals will be conditioned upon the Board of Trustees voting favorably to approve the encroachment. So the required findings. Section 16.450A, site plan review and performance standards. 1, compliance of the application with this code in general. Staff find that the applicant's situation is unique and peculiar to the property, and that an exceptional and unique hardship exists. There's a previous ramp that was demolished and removed, but no existing variance was found for the property. Since the structure was removed, conformity to town's code is required. Town administrator denied the request to replace the demolished ADA accessible ramp. Due to the denial, the applicant submits a request for variance to rebuild the ramp with a deck that meets ADA standards and mitigates the encroachment by the previous ramp. That means it's not as far into the setbacks as the one that was demolished.
Right.
Number 2, the compatibility of the proposed use and site plan with the character of the surrounding area. The construction of an ADA accessible ramp improves the church's ability to bring their space into compliance with the requirements of the ADA. There was a ramp in the location previously that did not impede or protrude into the public right-of-way. It abutted the sidewalk. Replacing the ADA accessible ramp with mitigation of the previous encroachment is compatible with the character of the area. Number 3, the desirability and need for the proposed use. The town administrator is also the ADA coordinator for the town, and it is desirable for more existing structures to become compliant with the requirements of the ADA. Although the proposed structure encroaches on the public right-of-way, it is necessary to bring the primary structure to compliance with the ADA. Number 4, the potential for adverse environmental influences that might result from the proposed use. Staff find the potential for adverse environmental influence does not exist for the proposed use or for the variance being requested. Number 5, compatibility of the proposed use of the site plan with policies and guidelines of the comprehensive plan. Staff find that the variance does not conflict with provisions of the existing comprehensive plan from 1996. We can't contemplate future comprehensive plans. They're not law yet, right? So we use 1996 as a fallback. It doesn't conflict. B, lights and signs shall be located in a manner that will not be distracting to adjoining properties or passing motorists. The applicant does not propose any lighting on the ADA accessible ramp. C, landscaping shall be provided in areas near the public right of way and located within consideration for energy conservation. An accepted plan must be provided for maintenance of the required landscaped areas. Staff have determined that this provision is not applicable to the proposed use, the variance being sought by the applicant. Control of storm drainage shall be provided so as to not damage adjoining properties. Plan must be approved by the town engineer. Staff believe that the proposed improvement will not need a full storm drainage plan since the proposal will have minor revisions to the grading of the property, and the applicant will provide for adequate area for stormwater to percolate through grass within the yard. E, site design and building plan shall include provisions for needs of handicapped individuals as required by the building code or the ordinance of the town. The proposed site plan and drawings associated with the application include necessary revisions for handicapped individuals as required by the provisions of this code. It's the entire intent of this variance. F, approved landscaping or solid fencing capable of screening adjacent properties shall be provided where commercial uses abut residential uses. The proposed improvements do not abut residential uses. It abuts a public right of way. G, commercial and industrial uses shall conform to the following state performance standards. Staff find that no subsection applies to this application for variance. Staff recommends approval of the variance and bases the recommendation on the information given by the applicant. The applicant's plan mitigates the previous encroachment in town's right of way and the benefit to the general public provided by the improvements. I'd also give three potential motions. Motion for recommending approval, motion to recommend denial, and a motion for deferring a decision to the Board of Trustees. Sorry, Melinda, I know I didn't give that to you, but do you have any comments as the town attorney?
Nope, I don't think so. That all sounds straightforward to me.
Thank you.
Are there any other staff comments? Will you please go to the applicant presentation?
Yes. Well, I am the applicant. My name is Josh McIntyre. I am.
Wait, hang on. I'm sorry. I missed a
I was gonna
line.
swear you in.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Do you swear to tell the truth in this matter?
I do. Raise my right hand, but I will. Thank you guys for taking the time. My name is Josh McIntyre. I'm the pastor of the Unity Christian Fellowship. I live on North Fork Avenue, right across the street from the park. And as far as the work that Stefan has done in presenting, he has covered the issue pretty perfectly. We found probably, I don't know when it was exactly, but we met with Mike Zamora from Groundworks back, I believe it was at the end of the summer. If I'm getting that right, I could go back and look. But Mike came in, did a bunch of tests, looked at the sinking that our building was encountering. I had just been pastor for maybe a few months, maybe 2 months at that point. We had put in a little office, converted one of the classrooms for an office for me, put a clock in the wall with a nail, came back 2 weeks later, and the clock was on the floor. And so I went and wiggled the nail and thought, oh, I must have missed the stud. And I pulled the nail out and it was rusty and wet. And I thought, well, that's weird. You're not supposed to have that. So we called in Mike Zamora from Groundworks. He did a lot of work and basically determined that the ramp itself, the previous ramp that was there was constructed out of concrete, and it was put in sometime between 1984 and probably 1994. So a 10-year window. And this is based off photographs that I could find. So I don't know exactly when, but over time, that ramp, because it was so incredibly heavy and dense, being that it was poured right up to the building itself, it sat on the sidewalk probably about a half an inch. And if you go and you look at the sidewalk, you can see that it is actually tilted the sidewalk back. So when water builds up on that sidewalk, it vents down into underneath the ramp and then winds up in the office down in the basement of the church. So Mike Zamora came out and said, your problem is this ramp right here. It needs to come out. So we thought, okay, wow, that's what we'll do. And there's some fun stories there I can tell you about that whole process. And I will if you ask me. But eventually the ramp did come out. And The basement has dried out. It's been a really, really good change for the structure. It's a 120-year-old church, so it's been really good. But now, and within probably a week of that happening, several congregants, one lady fell off of like a World War II era side-by-side, wound up breaking, I can't even remember how many bones, but she was in recovery for 6 months. And then she came back and she thought, well, I can still go to church. I'll make it up the steps. And I felt horrible. Man, we just took out this ramp. That being said, the previous ramp was at an extremely steep angle. So people's toes, especially elderly folks, as they would walk down, it just caused a lot of pain. I don't remember the exact angle that the ramp was at, but it was not the 4.7-degree angle that's required by the ADA. So our desire has been to put in a structure that is freestanding, that will allow for water to vent out, evaporate, not trap water up against the building, but basically allow for water to move away, allow for people to get up, as you said, Steph, people in wheelchairs, mobility devices, and even assist in funeral processions. So we've already had 2 or 3 of those in there this year already, and thank God they were cremated, because I don't know how we get a casket up those steps. So I will answer any questions that you have, and hopefully be clear about it.
I will now open the public comment portion of the public hearing.
There is nobody else in the audience, so I'm stating that for the recording.
Okay, and then we got the applicant staff rebuttal. Does the applicant wish to offer further comment?
I have no rebuttal, by the way. There's
Anything further from town staff or?
I want to expand on the notifications. So notification was done not only with a sign that went on their kind of outdoor bulletin board as required, but we also had submitted certified letters to all adjacent property owners, received all of those green cards back. Sam has them right there. So we know that proper notice had been given.
We'll now close the public comment portion of the hearing. Comment about the public hearing record before we turn it over to the board. Questions and deliberation. I want to state that the documents included as part of the board record for this public hearing include all applicants' material submitted by the applicant, all material included in the packets, all written referral and public comments received regarding the applicant, the notice of hearing in the town ordinance. Does anyone have any objections to including all these in the record?
I would ask that you include one more, that you received the staff report tonight prior to the public hearing.
In the public report hearing.
Yeah.
Questions for the trustees? Who would like to begin?
So this is your deliberation time. If you've got any questions that you have of the applicants or.
Me too. So there are houses next to the church?
Yes.
How
So
does that affect them?
the house that is next to the church, it is immediately to the south. That would be known, I think, as 231 or 230 Box Elder. I think it's 231. That is actually the parsonage for the church.
Oh.
So the church already owns that property. It does not negatively affect it, as far as I can tell. The person living there right now is fully on board with the plan. I'm trying to think. I don't think there'd be any real differences. You know, there's still thoroughfare there. But again, this just makes it so that the folks who are going in and out of the building can do so at the proper grade,
Yeah.
proper angle.
So
Yes.
not to interrupt, the only reason that it's having to come before the board is because they didn't really do it right the first time.
Yeah.
Pull the permit.
So,
What's that?
so I can answer that. The house that you're talking about on Box Elder, the ramp is gonna be within that 6 foot or outside of that 6 foot setback. So that's not the issue. The issue is in front of Box Elder. So the ramp will encroach on the 20 foot front yard setback. And so, but there's still a sidewalk and it's,
Pretty good.
so it is encroaching a little bit, but the reason that this had to go for variance is the nonconformity was removed, and now they want to rebuild that ADA ramp. It's something that, as you can see in the report, was recommended for approval, but it is still within that setback. So now this variance would live with the property
Uh,
if it was granted.
So it's gonna live with where the priest lives or that pastor lives?
No, he doesn't live there. The church does have someone living there who takes care of the property, does mowing, things like that.
So it'll always be part of the property. is what I'm
Oh, yeah,
saying.
yes.
Yeah,
That's correct.
so you're needing to make it longer because it was too steep? And that's
Yes.
part of the reason it's
That's correct.
encroaching?
That's
Okay.
correct. Yeah, and the other reason is, in order to provide wheelchair access from the street itself. So there's 2 points, the northwest corner of Box Elder and Third, and then probably about 50 feet south. There's another point where if someone was in a wheelchair accessible van, they got out onto the curb, they could easily go from the street up onto the sidewalk and then straight to the ramp with no real bumps or dips or anything like that. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
I have a couple general, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to ask them, but the first one is, will you be able to get a casket around the corners, and is it gonna be wide enough to where it's not gonna cause any issues?
I believe so. Now, I don't know the average length of a casket, but most people are about 5.5 feet tall. If you look at the ADA requirements for ramps themselves, there has to be a landing that's a 5 by 5 foot space, so about this big. So maybe this is a crude remark to make, but if you've ever had to get a couch, up some stairs into an apartment, if that's possible, I know that we can do a casket. The deck, there's 2 points of turning again, a 5 by 5 foot landing, and I think it's closer to 5 by 11 feet. So I know we'd be able to do that with the ramp height or with the handrail height. I know we'd be able to do that. The landing that goes into the church, that would not be a problem. I did include illustrations, a 3D model that I built that is to scale, but I didn't. I submitted all of that with the zone appeal. So I hope that you guys were able to see.
Sorry, I just didn't know, and I didn't know if that was something that was different in the ADA for like a church setting. I didn't know if that varied or if that was the same.
There's that ADA standard, so as long as they're meeting slope requirements, landings, there's no issue.
And with the
Minimum is 3 foot.
Okay, and then what about the lighting? Is that something that comes in with the ADA so they're not tripping? And
No, so the reason for saying that there is no lighting is we also have a dark skies ordinance that we have to be mindful of. And so there is no the applicant isn't having additional lighting installed on this ADA ramp, so it's not an issue.
okay.
May I ask you a question about that? An afterthought that I have had is, the materials that we're desiring to build out of would be that Trex decking material. And there are strip LED lights that provide from the backside where, say, facing towards the building on a fascia board, you could install the track lighting there so that the walkway is mildly illuminated enough so where you can see where you're going. But it points away from the street towards the church itself, so towards the east, and it is not pointed up, but it's pointed at this horizontal angle. That was an afterthought. It's not in the design. And if we need to maintain dark skies, I guess.
As long as it is compliant with our ordinances, but that's what we're here for right now is this setback variance. So he's not asking for a variance from our lighting standards. He's asking for a variance from setbacks. So keep that in mind.
All right.
I have no further questions.
I just have one question, which is for all the letters that you put out to people who live within the required setback in terms of, their response, were there any responses from anybody?
No, I received no comments, positive, negative, or even sometimes I'll get people that'll stop by and be like, great idea, and then walk away with nothing.
Any more questions?
No more questions.
So I think you're ready for a motion.
Yeah, I'm ready for a motion. I motion that we've been, excuse me, and, sorry, am I doing it wrong?
I just need you to close the public hearing.
Oh, no, good.
Hearing none.
We don't have to do this.
Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing, and turn the matter over to the zoning board of adjustments for consideration for the resolution listed on the agenda.
There are three possible motions.
Okay,
And it's, they're all very specific to make sure that we aren't.
so we have to repeat that whole thing, whoever.
Correct.
Okay, so I move to recommend approval of variance 2024-01 because it mitigates the existing non-conforming encroachment, that there is a need for use that is described by the applicant with meeting the requirements of the ADA, and that there exists a hardship to the applicant that is unique to the property and that is approval intends to lead with the following condition, that the applicant also receives a favorable determination from the Board of Trustees prior to completing any of the proposed improvements.
Second the motion.
I second the motion.
You're third, you can't say.
I don't know. Second or third.
So we have a second. Mr. Chair, it's now open for vote.
Okay, everybody in favor, say
Aye.
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 All opposed? Any opposed?
We'll get the hang of this.
You're getting there.
We
This
just
is the
don't-
first.
We don't, this is our second one in
That's
years.
right.
And now that Suzanne's gone, she's the one that knows all.
She was the parliamentarian.
Yeah, she was the part.
So it's approved on the condition that the Board of Trustees on April 9th also approve it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
23rd.
Because I was wary of whether or not we'd have enough people to do this, I have to fill out notice, so the second meeting of the month, it'll be, because I'll have to renotice, so.
Okay.
I have a question though, with the lighting, so that we don't have to come back, should we see what he means by that or no? No, okay.
I don't want him to vary from the lighting.
Okay,
So we
okay.
have to comply. We'll work with him on that.
Because I mean, I agree with you, it's just minimal.
Yeah.
And it just is down by
But
the
it also
feet.
hasn't been noticed, so.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I just thought it would help everyone to get that approved too, so.
Right.
Okay. All right,
Not that big.
great. Well, Josh, you got yourself a new ramp.
I hope so. I appreciate it. We'll do a couple more meetings.
motion to carry is approved.
Yeah, you can.
And then, so any other business? We don't have anything else on the agenda?
No, you can adjourn.
Adjourned.
Yay.
Meeting adjourned.
31 minutes.
That's awesome.
Before you guys go anywhere though,
Oh,
or at least my board here, there's gonna be a training on April 16th with Sam Light from Sursa and Dana Pollock from DOLA about procedures and, all that stuff, the boards and committees and stuff like that need to know. I believe I've got it starting at 5:30. I'd love to see all of you guys there. I mean, it's wonderful training for you guys too. So
It's right here.
it's April 16th.
Okay.
So.
Melinda, thank you very much.
Bye, guys. See ya.
Bye.
Aye.
No, we didn't. I didn't.